JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, severe weather alert issued for Jamaica. The Met Service of Jamaica has issued a severe weather alert for the island. It says the alert will remain in place until 5 a.m. on Monday. Fishers on the quays and banks are being advised to commence preparations immediately with a view to evacuate at very short notice. The Met Service says a broad airflow pressure over the central Caribbean Sea continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms. It adds that environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive for additional development, and a tropical depression is likely to form within the next 2 days or so, while the system moves west-northwestward across the Caribbean Sea. Due to the relatively close proximity of the airflow pressure to Jamaica and the projected movement of the system, interest in and across the island should monitor the progress of the system. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall is possible over Jamaica during the next couple of days, the alert from the Met Service states. It explains that the forecast is for widespread showers and thunderstorms to affect the island beginning on Monday afternoon into the evening, with a deterioration in weather conditions beginning over sections of northeastern and southern parishes, then gradually spreading across the remainder of the island. Additionally, strong gusty winds reaching near gale force and possible thunderstorm force are also expected to start developing over offshore areas of the south coast late tonight into Monday morning. JCF mourns death of cop killed in St. Thomas car crash. The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF has been plunged into mourning once again, this time following the death of a police constable in a traffic accident in St. Thomas on Saturday. The deceased has been identified as Constable Kemar Nelson of the Specialized Operations Branch. "We're heartbroken and saddened," the Jamaica Police Federation said in a message to members announcing Nelson's death. "Sincere condolences to his family, colleagues, and friends." Reports are that about 9:45 p.m., Nelson was driving a Toyota Probox motor car along the Morant Bay Main Road when, while in the process of overtaking, he lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a wall. Nelson, along with 3 other occupants of the vehicle, sustained serious injuries and were rushed to the Princess Margaret Hospital, where he died while undergoing treatment. The others were admitted in serious but stable condition. The Morant Bay police are investigating the incident. Nelson is the 3rd policeman to have died tragically in as many weeks. Constable Brian Martin, 22, was murdered at a wake in Frog City in the Maxwell Park community in St. Andrew on October 15. 5 days later, Corporal Oliver Mullings, Jr., was killed in an exchange of fire with a gunman in Trench Town. St. Ann police investigating teenager's death. The Sentence Bay police have yet to make a breakthrough in the murder of a teenager whose body was discovered with gunshot wounds on Thursday. The deceased has been identified as Nicardo Stewart, a 15-year-old of Lilyfield and Windsor, St. Ann. It's reported that the body of the teenager was found in bushes in the Laughlands community in the parish about 8:30 a.m. Thursday. The police were called, and the team which responded observed what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the head of the teenager's body. Investigators probing deadly attack at Pernell Charles Arcade. Gunmen struck in the Pernell Charles Arcade in downtown Kingston yesterday, leaving 1 man dead and another wounded. The deceased has been identified as 31-year-old Sanjay Lewis of Georges Lane, Kingston. About 2 p.m., Lewis was inside the arcade when he was attacked by armed men. He was shot and was later pronounced dead at hospital. It was later discovered that a second person was wounded during the incident. Man killed, 5-year-old among 2 injured in Central Village gun attack. Police detectives are probing the shooting death of a man and the wounding of 2 others, including a 5-year-old child in Central Village, St. Catherine on Friday evening. The deceased is 32-year-old Dean Sharp of Seaview Gardens, St. Andrew. Reports are that about 6:30 p.m. on Friday, Sharp was among persons at a cook shop when a gunman approached and opened fire before escaping. When the shooting subsided, Sharp, a woman, and the child were found suffering from gunshot wounds. They were transported to the hospital, where Sharp succumbed to his injuries. The child and the woman were admitted for treatment. Clarendon man charged after allegedly beating woman with rake. A 26-year-old man who is accused of using a rake to beat a 41-year-old woman has been arrested and charged by the police. Lloyd Thompson, a construction worker from Pleasant Valley in Clarendon, is accused of causing injuries to the woman's face and breast. Thompson has been charged with assault occasioning bodily harm. No court date was given for him. It was reported that about 5:30 p.m. last Thursday, Thompson and the woman, who resides in the same community, had a disagreement. The disagreement reportedly became physical. It's alleged that a rake was used to beat the woman, causing injuries and swelling to the left side of her face and the left breast. A report was then made at the Maple police station and an investigation was launched. Thompson was later pointed out to police by the woman and was taken into custody and subsequently charged. Jamaican gets 3 years in prison for scamming elderly Americans. The United States Department of Justice DOJ says the Jamaican man was sentenced on Friday to 3 years in prison for conspiring to run a Jamaica-based lottery scam that targeted elderly American consumers. According to court documents, Greg Warren Clark, 30, from Montego Bay, conspired to operate a fraudulent lottery scheme. From September 2013 through to August 2015, the DOJ said Clark worked with co-conspirators, including Claude Anthony Shaw, in a scheme to defraud in which victims were called and falsely told that they had won over US $1 million in a lottery and needed to pay fees or taxes to claim their winnings. Victims were instructed to send their money through wire transfers or the mail to Shaw and other individuals, the DOJ said. As part of the conspiracy, it said Clark and Shaw discussed over the phone and through cell phone text messages plans to receive victims' money. At Clark's direction, Shaw received money from victims through wire transfers and the mail, said the DOJ, adding that Clark and Shaw discussed arrangements for victims to send money to other individuals with whom Shaw worked. Clark then instructed Shaw to send the victims' money to Clark in Jamaica, usually through wire transfers. However, victims who sent money to Clark and his co-conspirators never received any lottery winnings. The DOJ said Clark pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud for his role in the scam on August 19. It said Shaw previously pleaded guilty to mail fraud in the U.S. District Court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In June 2017, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison, the DOJ said. Today's sentencing demonstrates the Justice Department's commitment to combating foreign-based lottery fraud schemes targeting American consumers, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Brian M. Bunton, head of the DOJ's Civil Division. The perpetrators of these schemes will be prosecuted, regardless of where they live and operate, he added. Police Federation wants tougher laws for violence against its members during arrest. The Jamaica Police Federation is calling for harsher punishment for members of the public who continue to confront and assault members of the force while they are making arrests. The Federation says it's concerned about the increasing number of cases of persons resisting arrest on the urging of bystanders, calling for violence against the arresting officers. Speaking yesterday at the funeral service for Detective Sergeant Victor Francis, Chairman of the Federation Corporal Rowan James, urged Prime Minister Andrew Holness to introduce legislation for harsher punishment for those who choose to confront the police. You do not seek to assault, incite, and obstruct justice. Detective Sergeant Francis, who was attached to the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, CISOCA, was stabbed to death on September 10 when he intervened in a dispute involving members of a family in his community of Kemanas, Portmore, St. Catherine. A suspect was later held in connection with the killing. The Police Federation chairman has also repeated his call for more resources for members of the police force. With a rise in crime and violence across the country, Corporal James says the government must provide more resources for the JCF, adding that this will enable the rank-and-file members to take the fight to the criminals. We are prepared to respond to duty's call. All we are seeking is that element of support from our political directorate. In sports news, Clarendon College and Cornwall College scored big wins in D-Cup round of 16. Clarendon College and Cornwall College both avenged losses as they scored big wins as the DaCosta Cup round of 16 got underway on Saturday. Clarendon College blanked Rossies I-5 Love in their first meeting since the 2017 DaCosta Cup final when Rossies won, while Cornwall College came from behind to score 2-1 win over Dintil Technical in their first meeting since the semi-finals of the DaCosta Cup in 2019. Both games were played at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in St. James. Kaheem Dixon scored a brace, while Malachi Douglas, Devontae Hodges and Christopher Hall got 1 goal each, as Clarendon College won roughshod over Rossies High at Fogar Road. Clarendon College, who led 3-0 at halftime, have been unbeaten all season. 3 days after they overturned a first-leg deficit against Weir Technical in the second round and winning on penalties, Cornwall College pulled off the upset of the day as they came from a goal down to end Dintil Technical's 12-game winning run. After going behind in the 28th minute, Cornwall College struck back 2 minutes later when Braxton Richards pulled them level. The game appeared to be heading for a draw until Cornwall College were awarded a penalty 4 minutes into time added at the end of the second half, and Deshaun Talbot stepped up and dispatched a spot kick to give his team arguably their biggest win of the season. There were also wins for Fulham Technical, Manning School, Glenmuir High and William Knibb Memorial. Glenmuir High sent a big message with their 2-love win over Stats at the St. Elizabeth Technical Sports Complex in Santa Cruz, and are tied for the lead in Group 4 with Manning School, who beat Edwin Hallin High 2-love at Landilo. Jamalik Porter gave Manning School the lead in the 34th minute when he was perfectly placed to poke home the ball after Edwin Allen's goalkeeper Lamar Williams spilled the ball when he hit the ground. Javin Williams made the point secure when he doubled the advantage in the 75th minute. Mark Lewis scored the only goal of the game, as William Knibb got past Paul Bogle High in their game at Droxall, as the Trelawney School won back-to-back games by the lone goal. Fulham Technical ended York Castle's unbeaten run, beating them 2-love at Landilo Sports Complex in Westmoreland. Dwayne Watt gave Fulham Technical the lead in the 24th minute, before Javel Clark converted a penalty in the 83rd minute to secure all 3 points, as Fulham have won their last 5 games without conceding a goal. Defending champions Gravimacia High had their 9-game winning run cut when they were held 0-0 by Christiana High, and have failed to win just 2 of their last 24 games in the competition, dating back to last season. Saturday's results: Dintale Technical 1, Cornwall College 2, Fulham Technical 2, York Castle 0, Garvey-Massey 0, Christiana 0, Manchester 1, Central 1, William Knibb 1, Paul Bogle 0, Clarendon College 5, Rossies 0, Mannings 2, Edwin Allen 0, and Stets 0, Glenmuir 2. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.